In order to make the solutions that I'm about to propose for child adoption more relatable, I first want to compare them to the adoption of animals like dogs and cats. Many shelters lower or waive adoption fees sporadically throughout the year in order to encourage people to adopt them, and it helps get more dogs into loving homes. Marie Caldwell is a longtime open adoption practitioner, and she states that the number one reason hopeful adoptive families give for not moving forward in their adoption is a lack of funds. So I'm going to discuss solutions that will help us lower adoption costs. Two of these solutions are encouraging donations and hosting events that may donate a percent of the proceeds, and also to educate and inform adoptive parents of the options that are available to them. There are many ways that we would be able to encourage donations. We could use similar techniques as the ASPCA. They have their commercials that they air and provide a number and ask for donations to help abused animals. Now, adopted kids are typically not abused, but getting them into loving homes is the goal here. These donations could help cover common fees such as home studies or travel expenses that are not really taken into consideration when parents are looking to adopt. A second solution is to educate and inform these prospective adoptive parents. Many of these parents go into the adoption process unaware of a lot of the hidden fees or repeating fees that occur, and they get very discouraged and made back out of the adoption. One good way to get more financial aid that is not very well known are employer benefits. Now, this depends on the job that you have, where you're employed with, but many jobs offer more benefits if you are considering adoption or have an adopted child. Tax cuts are also an option. When you've adopted a child, the government gives you more back in your tax returns, and a lot of families don't consider that when they're adopting. And as I said before, just being aware of hidden fees or possibly repeating fees, such as if an adoption falls through, you may have to repeat the fees for a whole different child if one child falls through, such as if a mother decides to keep her child instead. Marty Caldwell is a certified open adoption practitioner. She founded the Lifetime Adoption Center in 1986, and in her article, Funding Your Adoption, she lists out many productive and creative ways to make your adoption affordable, such as online sales, yard sales, loans that you're allowed to take out. And there are also many websites, such as childrensconnections.org, that list out more websites for places that provide financial aid for parents considering to adopt. Now, you may be asking, what's in it for me? I don't want to adopt a child, so why would I care about how expensive it is? Well, in Stephen Levitt and Stephen Dubner's book, Think Like a Freak, they proposed that crime rates were lowered and may have had a connection to abortion being legalized. Now, abortion and adoption are not very different subjects, but children that had not been aborted and were born into a family that was uncaring or unwanting of them, they've grown up in the foster system and have possibly increased the crime that we see here in our country, because they are not cared for, they're not directed well. So, to wrap up this talk, I believe that these strategies will help us lower adoption fees through donations and education of these adoptive parents, and we will be able to put kids into loving homes.